Good afternoon, and welcome to our holiday show on reducing holiday stress. My co-host is Heidi Horsley, Dr. Heidi Horsley, my daughter. Hi, Hides.
Hi, Mom. How are you?
Great. Well, I love our topic. And Debbie Rambus, the Executive Director of the Compassionate Friends, is on with us today. Hi, Debbie.
Hi there. Hi, both of you. It's so wonderful to be here and talk about stress. Oh, my goodness.
That is my brother Scott sitting next to you, Mom. And below him is Debbie's son, Tony. And these are Christmas pictures, basically, and holiday pictures. So I will have Debbie talk about her picture, but I'll just say that I remember that picture very well. I think I was in the room because we all were watching Scott open his gift, and I think, sitting under the tree. But yeah, holidays are really hard because, holidays are when you come together with family and you get everybody together. And after a loss, you feel like there's always that void and that person that's not going to be there anymore. I mean, Scott isn't there anymore when we all get together. So I felt it was very stressful, especially in the first few years. I thought it was a very stressful time. It's gotten a lot better as we've gone through more and more holidays. So that's what I want to say about it.
All these things in the picture are reminders, cookies and all those things, and are reminders of that holiday. Debbie, why don't you talk a bit about Tony there? He looks like a happy Santa Claus.
I know, I love
Yes, he is. And, one of our holiday traditions is as we exchange gifts, you have to put on the Santa hat. And so the kids really don't like doing that. So Tony had on his big smile so I could get my holiday picture. And he has on this Purdue University sweatshirt. He loved Purdue. And even though he's not physically with us for the holiday, he is definitely there, still with us. We always light a candle. We do that before we start so that we always make a conscious effort to remember him.
What is stress? It's a state of mental or emotional strain or tension resulting from adverse or very demanding circumstances. Well, if you've had a loss of any family member during the holidays, you know that that is a very stressful situation, a lot of tension around that, and a lot of demands that we don't even think about that are related to the holidays.
I just think that there's a lot of expectations that things are going to go really well. We put a lot of, like you said, expectations on ourselves. And the issue is, when you have a holiday after someone has died, things aren't the same again. They're never going to be the same. And you want to return back to the way it used to be, and it can't. So we have to figure out how to create a new normal, how to go on to the next chapter of our lives. And I think that's very hard for people to figure out. They don't want a new chapter. They want the old chapter.
Yep.
But we don't have that. So, and like Debbie said, how to create new rituals, how to continue bonds with those that we've loved and lost so that we still have rituals around, giving a toast to them and talking about them and keeping their memories alive, even though they're not there.
So it is very stressful. I think, I like that you brought up about the expectations because I think we put a lot of expectations on ourselves, not even ones maybe that we think about. But as you said, we remember what it was like. And so somehow we put that expectation on ourselves that it's going to be like that. And we know it won't be. So we don't want to set ourselves up for failure.
Well, and the other thing is, and I'm sure this was true of Tony, Scott had certain roles in the family, and he was the only boy in our family, and so did a lot of heavy lifting because he was an athlete. He was on the football team and the baseball team, and he was very athletic. So he did all the heavy lifting. He brought the tree in, he set it up, he did all the lights, and we assisted him, but he did a lot of stuff. And so when he was no longer in our lives physically, it's like, who is going to fill all those voids? And his sisters, we all could fill some of them, but all of them couldn't be filled.
You don't need to pick a huge thing. If you pick a small thing and do it to take care of yourself, you'll find that kind of snowballs. It's like taking a little, little piece of snow or whatever and rolling it down the hill. And as you take care of yourself at the core, even one little thing can make change.
Okay, well, I just want to say, first of all, before I give you the 10 techniques to help people cope, all of these are research-based. And And the thing is, even if you don't buy into it and you don't believe it and you don't feel like, you don't feel like you're ever going to feel good again, these will still work. So you don't have to buy into it to have them work, which is a good thing. Breathing, gratitude, sleep, mindfulness, self-compassion, social connection, exercise, laughter, focus on positive, and hugs.
I absolutely love self-compassion because I think we're hardest on ourselves. And I think, we make these lists. I've got to buy for this person and that person. I've got to do Christmas cards. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. And we forget to put ourselves on that list. And so I think we need to make a list for ourselves. It may be something as simple as taking 10 minutes to yourself to sit in your recliner, put your feet up, and do nothing. Exercise that breathing and just let yourself relax. So add yourself to the list, add a little self-compassion. We really have to think about, especially after you've had a loss, you've got to figure out, what do I really expect of myself? And then also knowing that you can only have expectations for yourself. Where you're really going to have disappointment is in when you project those expectations onto others. So if you expect people to, like if I expect my family to remember Tony, I am setting myself up probably for some additional stress. While most of my family will, some of my family may be uncomfortable because they think they're going to make me sad. They think they're going to remind me of something that, of course, I'm never going to forget. So I think decreasing your expectations on yourself, but also really taking a look at not projecting expectations onto others.
It's interesting that when you leave space, sometimes we don't leave space for people to fill in and help us out. I found that this year myself because in the last few days, I have actually gotten pneumonia. And I, couldn't put any lights out. There are all these things that I like for Christmas. And I'm like, whoa, I just going to have to give it all up. And then my son-in-law came and put some lights up. A friend of mine came. They put a tree in. Some people came and helped. And guess what I did while they were doing all that? I laid on the couch. I did absolutely nothing. And it was pretty amazing that people stopped in. But and I'll let Heidi chime in for a minute. But let me tell you, a few years ago, my husband went into the hospital during Christmas, and I missed Christmas that year. It wasn't elves stepping in and all that. He was very ill. I was at the hospital. They don't have time in intensive care areas to be fooling around with Christmas. And I literally missed Christmas that year. And guess what? I survived. I've been thinking about it now. I actually missed Christmas. My family went to Hawaii. They left. My husband and I were alone, and we missed Christmas. And you know what? I survived it. And actually, it's been a strength for me because I realize now, I can start with the smallest expectations. Heidi, what did you have about expectations?
I just think that sometimes our expectations are so high that we set ourselves up for failure, and that the holidays are a really bad time of year when we do that. I think Debbie said something which I think is true. Don't expect family members to say their names and to remember them because, like Debbie said, people think it'll make us sad. So sometimes if you have an expectation, like if I have an expectation that I'm going to go to a holiday party and I want Scott's name to be brought up, you might need to pull someone aside, Mom. You and I always talk about this. Pull aside a trusted friend or relative and say, look, could you give a toast? If you feel that you can't do it, could you give a toast to the memory of Scott? Assign people different tasks. Don't expect people to do things because they often aren't going to do that.
Don't expect other people to do this for you. If you need a tribute, you better be thinking about doing it yourself. I mean, people may come in and it's really wonderful and tears in your eyes, but you don't want to have this expectation that you can't enjoy the holidays because nobody's recognized. I don't know. Debbie, what's your thought?
Oh, absolutely, Gloria. And I love this picture where you have a wreath and pictures of your loved one. It doesn't have to be just about the person that you've lost. It could be including them in everything else that you do. As I had stated earlier, we always try to light a candle just to take that moment of pause. When we lost Tony, his nephews and his niece were really young, but yet they know Tony because when we stand around that candle, we tell stories about Tony and we refer to him as Uncle Tony. So the kids know now, my grandchildren know Tony, even though they don't have distinct memories. It can be as simple as sharing a story. Can anyone, would you mind sharing a story? Or, as Heidi indicated, planting the seed. Maybe you're not comfortable in saying, would you bring up Tony in our, family discussions? You may not be comfortable doing yourself. Don't hesitate to tag someone to help you with that.
Important. Well, Christine Steeper asked, this year our family is not buying the traditional gifts. We purchased alternative gifts for families in other countries via goat, trees, bikes, and my favorite newborn survival kit. No tree, just a memorial table with lights and a picture of loved ones, trying to reduce stress. Such a disappointment celebrating without our sweet baby.
Oh. That's so nice. Such a good idea. Because I think helping is healing. So those gifts, you're helping other people. I've heard a lot of families that what they'll do is they'll do a toy drive, or they'll get age appropriate gifts for the age their child was, and make sure they get to children that need them. I love that suggestion that she gave and what they're doing.
Heidi, talk about the responsibility for other kids wanting Christmas.
Sometimes it's very hard for bereaved parents to have Christmas and to have holidays and Hanukkah and all that. However, for us surviving children, for the siblings, we really, really need it oftentimes. And unless everybody's in agreement that they don't want that, I think sometimes you have to kind of fake it till you make it. And it's hard, but you have to do it for the other kids. Because we all want to know as surviving siblings, are we enough? Are we, because we have a lot of survivor guilt, etc. And holidays are important to us, so we don't want to miss out on that. So I think sometimes we have to go on and create holidays for the surviving kids.
Yeah, I also think that if you are, say, in your first or second year, or it's hard for you, get buddies for your kids, family members or friends that can take those kids to the parties and the things that you don't think that you're going to be able to do this year. Have the kids taken along. Ask the kids if they would like to go do that kind of thing. And I think that's part of self-care, Debbie, is that then you can kick back and put your feet up while the kids are at the party, right?
Absolutely. We take on that responsibility of taking care of everyone else, and I think we have to let others in. We have to let others kind of help us. And as Heidi indicated, it is about us, but it's also about the other children that are there. I know that, in my own family dynamics, that sometimes I feel guilty. It seems like I focus so much on Tony, that's where my efforts are, that I feel like maybe sometimes my other two children may be feeling, what about me? So I don't want to send the wrong message. I definitely want to incorporate Tony, but I also have to take their feelings into consideration as well.
And one of the big issues I know for, I'm sure, people watching this show is some people say I haven't celebrated Christmas at all, and I'm not going to celebrate it. This year I'm not going to celebrate it again, and or Hanukkah or whatever. And other people are saying I'm going to get this stuff out right away. And you've got to get it out someday, and it might as well be now. And let's fake it till we make it. And walk through the steps?
The first years, I really tried to run away. I mean, we put up the decorations. We did that because we had grandchildren. And so we went through the motions, so to speak. I can't say that my heart was there. We were struggling. And so we would always go on a trip right after Christmas to escape. But what we found was that our grief went with us. We really couldn't escape it. So no matter where we went, we still felt the same. So as the years went on, and we lost Tony in 2011, we've settled more into back to similar routines that we had previously. I think it's important for people to realize they have to do what feels right. If this year isn't right to put up all of the decorations, maybe you don't want to put up any decorations, but just recognize that we're never going to go back to how it was previously as much as we would like to. So we have to figure out what our new normal is. What's it going to look like going forward? And maybe look at it as an opportunity to completely change up how you do things.
Heights, what's your thought about it? Do you remember what we did?
Well, I think that's true that we need to create some new rituals also. The first year was a total fog. I was 20, so I mean, I wasn't really little, but I just remember not really wanting to have Christmas, like Debbie said. And I remember the hardest thing was putting up the bulb that Scott had made with his name on it, the Christmas bulb, because we always hung our own bulbs, those kind of things, and it was very difficult to just reconfirm that he wasn't there and he wasn't coming back, and it was very, very hard. And the second year we went to Hawaii, which I'd never been before at that point, and I was actually relieved because I needed just a new place that he had never been before with us.
Ellis just sent us a question from a bereaved sibling. What's the best way to be supportive of others who are grieving, i.e. parents, while still taking care of yourself? For example, if you need to take time alone, but your parents need you around. Good question, Heidi.
Wow. This is so siblings, because we're always worried about our parents and we're always taking care of them. And sometimes we forget we need time, but sometimes we feel like we really need to support our parents first and ourselves second. And I don't agree with that, but that's how we feel. So I think Morales needs to take time for herself. She really needs to, because if she's got two grieving parents, that's a lot of work for us and for her. So giving herself permission, because you're going to be able to support your parents better if you support yourself first. Mm-hmm. It goes back to what Debbie said about self-compassion. You've had a significant loss. It's the worst loss that has ever happened to us.
Right.
So it's very difficult. And so we need to acknowledge that and validate that. And we need to be there for ourselves also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think communication is key there also. Mm-hmm. I would like my children, if they are comfortable, to say, I know this is rough for you, but I'm going to go have some self-time. I need to go up to my room for a while because, the siblings worry about us. We worry about them. And if we can just let each other know, I'm okay, but I just need some me time. And then I won't come barging in the bedroom and saying, are you okay? I know to give you some time.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that she says, if you need time, take time, but your parents need you around. Your parents need you around. I will say, as a parent, yeah, we're pretty needy, but the reality is, just like anything else, we have to take care of ourselves too. And what we need to do is to see that I don't know, early on, you need to make sure your kids are safe. I mean, it's some kind of a basic primal thing. Yeah. That early time, you need to see they're walking, breathing. Nothing happened to these kids. I'm not a failure because I had a kid die.
We think we know what others need from us when in fact, we've got to communicate that. And I think it's ever more important right now to say, I'm okay, but I need to step back. It's okay for the children to say to their parents, I've got to take care of me. I need this time. I need to step away. It's just so important to communicate that.
Say to your parents, I'm going to this party. This is where I'll be. I'll probably be back around 1 or whatever. That may sound like a lot for you, but it's really helping your parents try to relax, particularly the first year. If they know where you are, and set some limits, and maybe you will take one telephone call or something, but don't, keep calling. Set some limits on your parents. That's what I'd have to say. Heidi, does that ring for you?
Absolutely. And my heart goes out to Morales because she's an only surviving child right now. And that's really hard because, everything is on her shoulders, and she can't look at her sibling and say, look, mom and dad are being a pain in the neck. Can you take over here? I need a break. I mean, it's really hard. So I want to tell her to join the Compassionate Friends Facebook page if she hasn't, Sounds of the Siblings, because if she posted that on that closed Facebook page with siblings, she would get a lot of siblings coming in with support, and she would definitely not feel alone, and she would realize a lot of siblings are dealing with that, and they would give her some good feedback on how to deal with this, how to navigate the parent waters. I like giving toast to my brother and just putting it out there and saying, I want to toast to my brother and let everyone know that I really miss him and love him, and he's forever in my heart. And I also want to say that I'm thankful for my parents and my sisters who are still here. So including everybody, not just the person that died, I think is really a nice ritual during the holidays.
One of the things I want to say, if you're watching this and you feel like that you need more time with your loved one who has passed away during the holidays, you need self-compassion again, like Debbie said. You can take time with them. You can light a candle. You can play a favorite song. Take 5 minutes, 10 minutes out of every day. But one of the things that Heidi, we've talked about before, that we do, sometimes we'll put a rose in a vase going out the door, and that is a way to acknowledge Scott. I think it's sometimes very hard when you're going to Christmas parties or whatever, and you feel somewhat disloyal to, doesn't even have to be to a kid, it can be to your spouse that's died, or whoever died in your family, and you need some more time with them. Take 5 minutes, get a flower, whatever, light a candle, and do it before you leave for the party, and have your own saying, I love you, I'm heading to a party now, and you're part of my life and always will be. So if you need more time with that loved one, you can journal, whatever, and get together with family members. Wonderful thing to do ritually is to get people who want to write notes about the holidays or whatever about your loved one. You can burn them, and you can use them for ash to do a little plant if you happen to live in a warmer climate. Or you can, sometimes people put them on a really light paper if you have a fireplace, and you can write notes on it and have it go up the chimney. We used to say it was going to Santa, but you can do that for your loved ones. So there, create some rituals around it for yourself if you need more time. But I think what you've got to realize, and Heidi, you said it, sometimes it's just not going to work out, right?
Well, and sometimes siblings don't want to talk openly in front of their parents about their sibling that died. And so I actually loved when you used to put the rose in the vase in the front hall, and you do that because you told us, okay, girls, when I put the rose in the vase, it means that I'm thinking of Scott. But there was never any conversation around it. And that was helpful for me because at the time I really didn't like to discuss my grief with my parents, which is very normal for siblings, by the way. We're trying to be good kids because you've been through a lot. We don't want to cause you any more pain. So we often hide our grief from you. But seeing the rose, I knew that that was about Scott and his memory, and we all loved him. And it was a great symbol without putting pressure on me to have to grieve in front of you.
Got another question here, another thought. Thank you, Heidi. It's how do you support children when a child passes, not sure what to do or how to do it? Well, Heidi, I know you're actually done a lot of expertise on child loss and dealing with the loss of a child. Do you want to comment on that? How do you support children?
That's such a big question, right? You, Debbie, and I could take that for hours. So I don't know specifically what's going on. I would just say, let children's conversations drive what's going on in their questions. Be open. Don't put a lot of pressure on kids. I mean, like Debbie was saying, that she brings up Tony's memory and talks openly in front of her grandkids, and my parents do as well in front of us and the grandkids, but don't have a lot of expectations that the kids are going to respond back. Let them know, look, you've been through a lot. You've had your brother or sister die. I'm here for you. If you need anything, I'm here. But then, don't put a lot of expectations and pressure. I think one of the things that gets parents in trouble is that they really, really want children to be more verbal around their grief experience. And oftentimes kids aren't. And that creates, anxiety for parents, basically.
Mm-hmm. And, during the holidays, they're excited about other things. It's certainly one of the problems with saying, how do you support children, is that, wow, it depends on what age groups they're in.
Right.
Really hard to say.
And I guess one other thing I would say, because I don't feel like I've done it justice, we have done a lot of shows on children and grief. I mean, tons of cable television and radio shows. Go hear them, because we will give you specific tips and tools and various scenarios on how to support kids. But I think just being open with them. And also one other thing I want to say, and Debbie said it earlier, if you're having a really bad time and a hard time, that's okay. But let your kids know, I'm having a hard time. I'm really sad that your brother or sister died. It's nothing you did, and I need a few minutes. That's really helpful for kids, because we get really anxious when we see our parents falling apart. And sometimes we think it's something we did, or we think we're not enough, or we think that they're not ever going to be able to take care of us again. So a little reassurance goes a long way.
Debbie, I can see you resonating with that. What's your thought?
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think sometimes we always think we have to fill that silence with words. And sometimes a touch, a hug is really all that's needed. Just pulling someone in close, pulling your child in close, spending a few moments with them, just, that touch and that hug reassures them that it's okay. It's okay, whatever they're feeling, and that you're okay.
Mm-hmm. My pediatrician came to me after Scott died and said, I know you're really worried about your kids. And he said, but there's biology and there's life, and your kids are going to grow up and they're going to be just fine. And he was right. That was a lot of years ago. So anyway, I think your kids watch you. We enclose a card that reads, this random act of kindness was done in blank blank's memory in our Christmas cards to all our friends and family, asking them to do something kind in memory of our son or brother. We received beautiful response letters and stories of what others have done. It made me feel his spirit was still alive among us.
I've got chills. That is one of the best things I've ever heard. That is such a great idea. Mm-hmm. I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, with Facebook and social media now, I noticed many people putting in Miss So-and-so, I remember when, that kind of thing. People are sharing on social media. Have you got any thoughts on social media sharing? You're a great Facebooker.
I love social media, because I think we keep memories alive, and we also teach the world how to be good grief support, and also that we teach the world that, hey, just because they're not here doesn't mean that they're not living forever in our hearts, our memories, and our lives. So I think, putting up things on Facebook is fabulous, because oftentimes when you put something up on Facebook, you get stories you've never heard from friends. Scott's friends will come in and tell me stories that I've never heard before, and he's been gone for over 30 years. So it's a real blessing, and I do keep his memory alive, and I do want people to know that as long as I'm here, his memory is going to be alive. It's one of my jobs. I feel it's one of the reasons I'm on the earth, is to like you all said, to tell people who Scott was, even though they didn't know him. My kids know their uncle, as Debbie said, because of the memories that I share. Mm-hmm. So I think social media is a great way to get support and to give support.
And I think one of the problems is, or what I've experienced, is that it's not the day itself. It's all those days leading up to it. It's the anticipation of, oh my goodness, it's a Christmas without Tony. Oh my goodness, how am I going to get through this? And I work myself up. I know I do it. And then the day comes, and it's almost like a relief. one year, what we did with the chapter we had in Savannah is we had the chapter members get together and we had a party afterwards that said we survived the holidays, and we loved it because we were able to get together and share ideas about what each one of us had done. And it was a common theme that, even though it was just a day for us, it was all of that anticipation and build up and worry and all the things that go along with it, and then so relieved when it's over.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Losing a parent during the holidays can really be difficult, particularly if you've had the kind of the hierarchy of the family. You're an adult and you had a mom or dad that always had the holidays at their house where everybody would gather, and all of a sudden you find as a sibling that now you have to be, the siblings have to get together. There may be no parents that are going to unite the whole world anymore. So that can be a real downer during the holidays.
Yep. I agree. That's stressful because we've got rituals that we've been doing forever, and then all of a sudden they've changed, and I think that can be really, really hard for people.
Yeah.
Right. In my family, on Christmas, we always went to my grandmother's house on Christmas Eve, and we always had the same dinner every year.
Right.
And the first year after her death,
Mm-hmm.
we were just at a loss. It's like we knew we didn't want to have the same thing because we couldn't replicate it. So we ended up having all kinds of different things. And we laughed about it afterwards because nothing really went together, but we were just unsure what to do. So it does kind of cause an imbalance. And again, it's finding, okay, what are we going to do going forward?
Okay, here's a question from Susan, and she says, my husband and I are divorced, and it's very difficult because our teenage son was killed in an automobile accident 3 years ago, and now we're trying to deal with the kids, the loss, and who's going to go to Christmas Eve and who's coming to Christmas Day, and it just seems to all be so chaotic. I don't know how to handle it.
Yeah, that one's a very difficult one. Again, trying to balance, again, trying to make each one happy. I'll go back again to communication. If you can communicate with the ex-spouse, to say, I know we've had our differences. We have to get through this. What's your preference? You want to do early day? You want to do late day? Somebody has to initiate that so that it can all flow together for the surviving children, for the new spouses or significant others. So somebody's got to take that first step, as difficult as it may be, to try to figure out, okay, how can we each do our own thing and not create an unnecessary conflict.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like it's been 3 years, and that doesn't surprise me because I think then you're really starting to come out of the fog and saying, how are we going to organize this, going forward?
I agree with what Debbie said, and there's a couple of ways of dealing with it. You can either split Christmas Eve and split Christmas Day, or you can say every other year I do Christmas Eve and you do Christmas Day, etc. And also weighing in on what the kids, what the kids want. Although you've got to definitely compromise there because you want the kids to be seeing both parents.
Mm-hmm.
I'd also say to this woman I think it's a woman that's divorced, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take care of yourself, because what you don't want to have happen is that on Christmas Day the children leave and go to your exes and you're by yourself and it is the day from hell. I mean, honestly, if you can find other women that are in the same situation, and there are a lot out there because divorce is over 50%, go out with them. I have a lot of friends that go out with their girlfriends on those days. Go out with them and take care of yourself and celebrate yourself. Try not to be isolated alone because it can be really stressful if that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this slide. I didn't have anything else to add to that. I think it's so important. That's one of the biggest things we can do during the holiday season is to give the gift of hope. And that can simply be giving the gift that the hope being that letting others know I'm okay. I'm not who I used to be, but I'm okay moving forward. It can also be to someone that has suffered a loss, going there, letting them know, even if you can't physically be there, to let them know you were there for them and that you remember their loved one. So to me, those are great gifts of hope.
Hopefully you've taken a look at this slide and you have found an area in there that you want to just, what we're really asking you is to just pick one small thing that you want to do for yourself this year. Breathing, just breathing, sitting for 10 minutes doing breath work. Gratitude, how do you talk about gratitude? Because gratitude's like the #1 brain changer.
The number one way that we can shift our energy quickly. So, you know, they've done a lot of research on this. And one of the fastest ways to do it is to actually write a letter right now after this webinar, a quick one to somebody. It can even be to the person that you love and lost, and tell them you're grateful for them, and then go and mail it. So there's something about the act of writing it and mailing it that helps people. But being grateful for community, being grateful for little things in life, anything. I know it's hard after a loss to think, well, what am I grateful for? But try to find something and focus on that, because what we focus on grows.
Mm-hmm. And Debbie, we've talked a lot about self-compassion, taking that time out for yourself. And a lot of this is with self-compassion. I would want to talk about social connection, because I think what we're doing here today, it's been so helpful for me just to be on it with you, Debbie and Heidi, and talk about this together, because social connection is so important to find community. Don't you think, Debbie?
Oh, absolutely. Expressing yourself, sharing your feelings so that others, if they know you're down, they can lift you up. If you're having a good day, they can join in with you. I think community is so important to tell our story, to share ourselves. We've got about 25 closed Facebook pages now. They're all different types of pages. Could be the type of loss, could be the age of the child. And there's one for men in grief only, where only men are on there. It's very similar to the sounds of the siblings, where it's only siblings that are on there. And the nice thing about these closed pages is that you can express your feelings, and you don't have to worry about it going on to your public Facebook wall. And why that's important is we don't always want the world to know exactly how we're feeling or what has upset us. We don't want to offend anyone. And sometimes we want to have a discussion with those that really are in the same boat we are, that maybe had the same type of loss, maybe lost a child of the same age or a grandchild. So it's a great outlet for you. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it's available.
Yep, and you can come to our Open to Hope site. Hyde, why don't you tell people what's on there? Lots of radio shows, television shows.
Radio,
in every area.
10 years of internet radio, 5 years of television with all sorts of people, and thousands of articles. And it's all about, how do you find hope after loss? How do you find hope during the holidays? It's all about people like Debbie and Gloria and me, letting you know that we're there for you, that we've been there. We've been in the darkness, and now we will take the journey with you into the light. So holding on to people that are further along in their journey.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, we cover all losses on Open to Hope, because I know there are a lot of people that are involved with parent loss is a big issue. Just picking small things can really make a difference. But I think the key to every single one of them is you're taking out 5 minutes for yourself, right, Debbie?
Absolutely. And, give yourself an exit plan in all of your holiday gatherings. Think ahead, maybe let the host or hostess know, I may need to step out, and allow yourself to do that.
That's big, Debbie. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I kept saying I've got to remember to tell them to have an exit plan. And also, you might want to figure out, okay, what if I need to leave? How am I going to be able to leave? Because sometimes we also decide we don't want to stay, we don't want to come back. So I like the idea. It gives us a little bit of control.
Mhm. And I also like, it's not bad to go up to the hostess that's giving the party, or the people that are in charge of your friends, and say, you know what, if I should leave, don't make a big deal. Or if I'm gone for 15 minutes or whatever, I need some time for myself. Don't worry about me.
On this one, just doing a smile. If you smile at yourself in the mirror, using those muscles are a little different than having a frown. Listening to music, there was one day I had country music on, and by the end of the day, I was in tears, and I'm like, I cannot do this. These songs are too sad. So be careful of the music you pick.
That's
Unless you want to cry, you want to go down in the basement with your candle and do your 10 minutes, go for it.
But I think what these are right here, what the research shows about this list, it's when we are in an event, we're in a party, we're at a holiday work event, or we're at a holiday party with our family, and we go into the bathroom and we need to get in a different space. So in other words, I'm falling apart over Scott. Now I'm in the bathroom and I need to figure out a way to get myself out of that anxious, like really sad place quickly. So in other words, if you snap 50 times while you're in a very sad place, it moves you from a heart place back into a head space, so that you can then go into the event that you have to go into. Or if you suck on cinnamon or peppermint and think about it, it's all mindfulness stuff. How do we get out of our lost head and back into the present? And these kind of things will bring us into those places very quick, into a present space.
Put some cold water on your face. There's a lot of ice around during the holidays. You might want to, put a cold cloth on your neck or whatever. What's the 1 minute rule, Heidi? Do you know?
This is really good. And it's research based again. If you do something, accomplish something for 1 minute. Go and do a task that's only a minute long that you can accomplish. In other words, Debbie, clean out your purse. It's something like that. Or I can say someone clean out their wallet. Doing something quickly that will only last a minute, where you have an accomplishment at the end of the minute. And the other one is, try to make your bed every day. If you make your bed every day, you've accomplished something, and it changes the energy in the room. And then when you come home at night, your bed is made, and it makes you feel better.
Love it. I'm loving it. So music and smile, and we've talked about before about if you put a pencil across your teeth or your fingers, like Heidi is right now, it actually tricks your brain into thinking you're happy. So, sometimes I look at my husband, he looks grumpy, and I say, you know what? If you smile, people will think you're happy whether you are or not. And then who knows, you might get happy.
Mom, it's not other people. Your own body will think you're happy. Because these muscles, they're going up. So it's telling your brain, I am happy. And this is a crazy thing, but they have found that, and I won't recommend it, they have found that Botox for people that are depressed is a treatment method, because they have a permanent smile. So it's making them think they're happy. Now, I don't recommend that, but try the pen in the mouth for 60 seconds a day. It does tell your brain I'm happy. Even if you're not, you don't have to be happy for it to work.
May you have a healing holiday season. We will never forget our loved ones, as they will always be in our hearts. The holidays are a time that our memories will continue to connect us with those who have made us who we are today.
So lovely. Well, we want to thank everybody for watching this webinar today, and we hope that you'll find something in it that will help you to de-stress your holidays a little bit. Just even one small thing. I always feel if I go to something and I even find one thing, it's huge, those little changes. So don't try to change the world from watching something. Just try to change your own heart and your compassion and how you take care of yourself. And Heidi and Debbie, do you have some closing things you want to say?
I just want to tell everyone, I hope you have a good holiday, and to be easy and kind to yourself.
And I just like to say to all the siblings out there, hang in there. You're not alone. We've been where you are, a lot of the siblings, and we're further along. If you've lost hope, please lean on mine, lean on my mom's, and lean on Debbie's.
And thanks again for watching this webinar, and have a peaceful and a thoughtful holiday with a thought from us to take care of yourself and to remember that you are loved. And thank you for watching.